constitutionally obligated to do. Thank you very much.
We'll take some questions here in a moment. I just want to tell you that two of our star witnesses from the hearing this morning are standing behind me. Jeremy Dice, raise your hand. He's the tall guy in the back. He's senior counsel with First Liberty Institute, which is the nation's largest organization dedicated exclusively to the defense of religious liberty for all Americans. And he's done a lot of work in the legal arena, defending some of these pregnancy care centers that have been targeted.
Based, Mike?
They're in Texas, but that's the side note. And then also standing behind me is Tammy Poker. And Tammy did an excellent job in committee today. She's the executive director of New Life Family Services. They're in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, one of the oldest and most comprehensive pregnancy care centers in the country. And on March 6th of this year, just a couple months ago, Jane's Revenge graffitied one of their facilities, and they painted the abortion. I think we have a photo up here. If abortions aren't safe, then neither are you. They smashed windows, and she testified this morning they had to spend over $60,000 in some immediate measures to protect their facilities, and that's $60,000 plus that could go to great use helping women in crisis pregnancies. And so it's a real shame that this is going on. Let me take some questions if anybody has any.
Pro-choice, I'm Kate Scanlon, I'm with OSB News. Pro-choice advocates will argue that we've seen an uptick in abortion clinics as well as pro-life centers post-ops. Can you speak to what you've come across in your research when you've been documenting these incidents at pro-life centers and what it maybe says about a wider culture of violence that we're experiencing now?
Yeah, it was very interesting in the hearing today. Mr. Roy pointed this out, and we noticed that the Democrats' witness from the National Abortion Federation cited FBI statistics about attacks on the other side, but she had no FBI statistics on the pro-life centers. And it's interesting that the FBI apparently is not taking those statistics. You know, they took no action on the pro-life side of this to go after any of these 100 documented incidents of vandalism on pro-life centers and churches since Dobbs, since the leaked opinion. And it was really interesting. We had to pass a resolution on the House floor here in late February, as I recall. I wrote the resolution demanding action by the FBI, and it was only 6 days after that that they finally took notice and began to pay attention to a few of these incidences. So do we have a rise in violence across the country? We do. But what we rely upon is the Department of Justice to enforce the law and to do it equally and to protect everybody on all sides. And there's been a greater increase in the pro-life side than even.
Yeah, I just want to add that, as Mike just said, I mean, justice is supposed to be blind, right? That's the core issue here that we're discussing. If this were all being enforced equally, right? If there's violence being levied against, an abortion facility, we would agree that that shouldn't be occurring under the law. You follow the law, right? As a former federal prosecutor, you prosecute the case in front of you, and that's not what we're seeing, though, right? We're seeing, for example, there is a very specific statute that says you cannot go and intimidate a justice at their home. The Department of Justice is completely MIA, while pro-choice activists are going and picketing outside of Supreme Court justices' home. Well, why are they doing that? It's to intimidate judges. That's exactly what it's for. That's why the statute exists. Yet they're not doing it. Any of these violent acts across the spectrum have local laws prohibiting virtually all of them. And so local law enforcement is frankly where most of this stuff is supposed to occur. But what you see out of the Department of Justice is selective enforcement, going after Mark Houck, not going after abuses that are levied against crisis pregnancy centers, not going after these folks who are trying to harass judges and so forth.
Well said. Another question?